Hey everyone, Matt on here from the Matt on Talk Show, and this edition of the talk show we are going to be doing our SummerSlam review. Yep, WWE SummerSlam 2016 review, and without any further ado, here it is. Alright, the first thing we talk about is our pre-show matches, which to me were all sleepers for the most part, and I cannot recall any single one of them. Now, I, unlike a lot of other people who review the WWE SummerSlam 2016, is going to take a different approach than everyone else. A lot of other people that I like to watch analyze things and try to find out ways that it could have been better and so forth. I'm just going to tell you how I feel and how I watched the show. And that's simply my analysis as my own opinion, as everyone else's, on the WWE SummerSlam 2016 videos. So the pre-show is a bunch of sleeper matches, and we move right along to the beginning of the show where we had Enzo and Cass versus Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, which was a pretty good, interesting match. I just thought it was interesting that they allowed Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho to win this match. I believe that maybe they're going to have Enzo and Cass will get their win back either on Raw or the Night of Champions pay-per-view, but I guess we'll see what happens. One of them has to... The idea of the Clash of Champions, I should say, not a Night of Champions, but Clash of Champions, which is going to be the Raw pay-per-view. I guess one of those guys would have to have championship belts or tag belts or something like that. I guess we'll see what happens with that. Moving right along to the next match, Sasha Banks and Charlotte. That match kept my interest for the most part. I stayed tuned and watched that entire match. Very interesting. Kind of some botchy spots in there. But nonetheless, very surprised, semi-surprised that Charlotte came out the victory, considering everybody wanted Sasha Banks for the longest time to be the WWE Women's Champion. But I guess rumor has it she's going to be trying to recover some injuries or whatever, nagging injuries, so that's why they flipped the championship belt back onto Charlotte. And also, I read earlier in the day some spoilers where they had some betting odds that more of the betting odds were in the favor of Charlotte. Moving on to the next match, which I don't know what the next match was after that. But anyway, keep moving along here. John Cena and AJ Styles was another interesting match. Nonetheless, as much as I dislike John Cena as a wrestler, he put on an amazing performance with AJ Styles. WrestleMania championship worthy, if you ask me. And hopefully that they'll throw it into a WrestleMania match down the line. Moving on to the next match, or at least I think was the next match, we had... well, I'm just kind of jumping around here because, I don't really know the entire lineup that there was, and half the time it was hard for my interest to be kept with how boring and lackluster some of the activity was and how they lined things up match-wise with SummerSlam. I'm just going to keep moving along here. We had a 6-diva, 6-women's tag match, whatever they're calling it these days. Eva Marie, as you all know, was suspended. And we saw the return of Nikki Bella, which came out to a huge pop to the crowd, almost like a face-like pop, even though she was playing up on the heel role. And, Nikki Bella and her teammates Natalya and Alexa Bliss, I believe it was, came out the victors in the end in that one. Also, going along here, Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for the WWE Universal Championship. And it's going around that there is a lot of heat going on about the design of that Universal Championship. Getting a lot of negative reviews, even a lot of negative reviews during the match. A lot of fans were hijacking that match and basically just crapping all over the idea of the design of this new championship belt. Nonetheless, Finn Balor came out the victor in that match to become the first ever WWE Universal Champion. As I just read some breaking news from WWE just before coming on to do this video, Finn Balor suffered a shoulder injury last night during that match, so it'll be interesting to see what they do in the next hour or so when Raw comes on What they're going to do with that? Are they going to do a match where randomly Seth Rollins and Finn Balor go one-on-one, and then Seth Rollins gets the victory so Finn Balor could take time off? And rumor has it he was in a sling afterwards after that match. So we will only wait to see what happens with that. Moving along now, we had the Rusev and Roman Reigns, what was supposed to be a match for the United States Championship, ended up turning into a big clusterfuck on the outside of the ring, which led to the end where Rusev got speared by Roman Reigns. Yep. So yeah, no surprise there. That they had the match on Monday last week. The only way that they could have won around that is if Rusev won, because Roman got the victory on Raw. Would have made Rusev kind of look like a weak character if he lost twice. Supposedly defending his wife's honor on Monday and then defending his championship last night. Just a clusterfuck on the outside. They'll probably have their blow-off match at Clash of Champions, so they'll probably build all this time, or they'll do some clusterfuck where Roman gets the title tonight on Raw. Who knows? We'll wait and see what happens with that one. And then finally, moving on to the very end, Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. Yep. And interesting, like I was talking to a few friends at the talk show, what a stinker that match was. They built it up for so long with them two just beating the heck out of each other that, each one of them getting the best of each other on each of their shows. And then, it just turns out that Randy Orton just gets his ass kicked the majority of the time. Randy Orton got a big spot in with the RKO on the table outside. Then, a bunch of suplexes Brock gave to Randy, and then threw Randy through the announce table once. And then, of course, there at the end, Brock taking off his gloves and just literally UFC fighting Randy Orton there right on the ground until Randy Orton was laying in a puddle of his own blood. He was busted open. The ref calls for the bell for a TKO. And that was the end of that. Kind of a sucky finish. TKO-wise for SummerSlam. I would expect a WrestleMania type kind of ending to this, where they go out with a surprise. There was a lot of Goldberg chants right after that TKO announcement. People thought Goldberg was going to come out. No Goldberg. We were all hoping for it. That would have been a nice blow-off sending to the end of the thing. After the Goldberg chants, Brock Lesnar took a few more fists to Randy Orton, and then Shane McMahon came out to try to help out the referees to try to stop this. And then, Shane McMahon ended up getting an F5 by Brock Lesnar. And then Brock walked back up the ramp, and that was the end of the show. So we will only wait to see what happens on Raw tonight. Maybe they'll do some bullshit suspension thing or whatever just to write Brock off. Because we all know he's a part-timer. I don't know why they just don't go by that on wrestling, that he's a part-timer. They made it seem like, you got to put all these bullshit sanctions and, he got suspended or fired just so he could have time off until they decide they're going to bring him back at Royal Rumble or whatever the next event is that they're going to bring him back at. So, yeah, that was my review on SummerSlam 2016. I guess we will wait to see what happens tonight with that Universal Championship tonight on Raw. That's it for me. I'll be back in the future with some more news, information, and talk, as this is the Matt on Talk Show, about WWE, and maybe some other topics and some other things will pop up here on our YouTube channel. Stay tuned. Matt on. Over.